Bam! Look at that, we got stuff. You can see my hand. You can also see my feet, which is why I put socks on. No free feet. No free feet. But yeah, so today we're going to be making some Pico. We're going to be making some tacos. Not going to do anything crazy in terms of, like, you know, it's not going to be super fancy. It's going to be something that people can make at home. Is the idea, is the point. This is actually really, really quick. Really, really easy. So first things first, let me actually wrote this down in case I'm not around to just, like, reform it together. But it's essentially just a taco seasoning mix that we've made at home. This is from some trial and error. Because I'm not about the pre-made taco seasonings. They're easy, but they've always been too salty, in my opinion, so I preferred to make one at home, so we just made one. Yeah, and this is all put together in, like, probably 25 minutes or so. That's all it's gonna take. So, alright, so the taco seasoning. Again, pretty easy, nothing crazy here. Just chili powder, salt, oregano, garlic powder, pepper, cumin, and that's it. Piece of cake. Super, super simple, nothing super crazy. The main ingredient that's going in this is gonna be chili powder, which I think probably would shock a lot of people. Yeah, it's about a tablespoon of chili powder. Like I said, you can kind of just go with your heart here. It's really not that big of a deal. You can just kind of reform it. In terms of the salt, it's about 3/4 of a teaspoon. I'm just kind of free-forming it, right? I know it's hard to tell on the up-down angle, but that's not a full teaspoon. It's just kind of like there. And then I'll put a little bit in there, and if I think it's too much, I'll dump the rest out. Then it's about 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. This, again, is not accurate. It's just kind of there. I just kind of like dumped it in there. You can kind of see. Nothing crazy. I just dumped a little bit in there. We might add more, we might not. It's gonna depend on what it smells like. About 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then after that, it's about 1/2 teaspoon of cracked black pepper. Don't fall on me. Oh. Oh, I just realized you guys can probably hear the cracking, sorry. Or something like that. Like I said, it's not a perfect science. You can always add more pepper and more salt after the fact. You can't take it away. So, I'd rather go on the lighter side and then add later. And then it's a full teaspoon of cumin. I usually do a bit of a heaping teaspoon of the cumin. That's a little bit over the top. All right, and then once all of that is in your bowl, since this is all ground, you don't need like a mortar and pestle or anything, obviously, but I usually just like to mix it together to give it kind of a look. Get it all put in together. This also lets me seed out any of the, if there are individual peppercorns that didn't get ground up while I was grinding the pepper, I can get them out of there. If there are any stems from the oregano, I can seed those out if I need to. It looks like taco seasoning, right? That's it. So that's our taco seasoning. We usually keep this in like a little jar. We got like a little thing that just says taco on it. You just keep it in a jar. Because this is good for ground beef. It's good for chicken. It's good for steak. Pretty much anything that you want it to be. Tastes pretty good. I haven't tried it with shrimp, but I imagine it would be good on shrimp as well. But with shrimp, I would probably add some lemon juice. Not to the actual seasoning packet, but to when you're cooking. I would add some lemon juice to the pan as it's cooking down. Just to try to like give it a little bit of acidity. There you go. Taco seasoning in a jar. That's our seasoning that we're going to be using for the tacos. Let's go ahead and get this Pico started. We're not going to need this tomato just yet. What we're going to do first is we're going to take a bowl. We're going to take our onion. We're going to lose one on the ground. Take our jalapeno. And then we're going to take the juice of a lime. Like I said, I am not an expert. There may be a better way to do this. There may be a more fancy way to make Pico. I'm not here to show you that. I'm here to show you how we do it and why it tastes good. Usually 1 lime's enough. But if you feel like you need more, again, you can always add it after the fact. But after you mix it, if it doesn't seem like enough, you can always grab some more. You can also use the jar lime juice. I just don't like that as much as like a fresh lime. But it's not that big of a flavor difference at the end of the day. There's our lime. Kind of toss to combine. Make sure the lime juice is touching everything. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just got to get it in there. And then we're going to let this soak in lime juice in the fridge. I usually like to let the lime and the jalapeno and the onion kind of be together for a little while. And then once I'm hungry, that's usually when it comes out and you add the tomato. So I'm just going to toss this in the fridge. And then obviously the cilantro and the tomato will go in later. And wouldn't you believe it, it's already time for tacos. Mr. Arnie texted proof Pico true. That guy is so fun to watch. He makes some really great videos. Love that guy. All right. Just gonna take this. We do not need a lot of oil here because a lot of the oil from the meat is gonna be enough to not stick to the pan. I will add just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of of olive oil to the pan just to get it going. No measurements there, just kind of pour until your heart says stop. Also, always buy the big olive oil. You're always going to use it. That's actually probably even too much olive oil there, but it's not that big of a deal. And today for our tortillas, we're using these extreme wellness tortillas. I don't really give a damn that they're keto. I don't really care about that. What I do care about is they have fiber in them. Because any way that you can cheat fiber into your system is a good thing. So the way that you know your oil is ready to go, you see how sleek and quickly it's going across the pan like this? That's how you know your oil's hot enough. If you're not sure, you can always throw like a granule of salt in there and it'll sizzle. I usually like to let this just kind of slowly cook as it starts to like get hot. So I don't want to put the seasonings in just yet. I just kind of want to break this apart, let it get some color, and then once it starts getting some color, we'll add the seasonings in. So as far as the type of meat that I like to use for tacos specifically, I prefer to use taco or ground beef that is 90-10 or higher, because I don't think that these tacos tend to be a leaner meat anyways, and you're adding so much flavor in terms of like the seasonings, all of the additions that you add on top of it. This isn't like you're eating a burger, right? Where on a burger, the meat is the food, right? So with a burger, you want the burger to be pretty well seasoned. But with taco meat, you don't really need that, like, that fat to hold on to the actual seasonings itself. You can just simply, like, let the seasonings talk for it, right? The meat's just the flavor vehicle at the end of the day. The big reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want the seasonings to get obliterated by all of the fat that's cooking off, all of the grease that's cooking off. I want it to get emulsified by the things that we're putting in it. That's why we're not putting it in right away. Because again, this isn't a burger. We're not just frying it on both sides and throwing it on a bun. And obviously, again, like 90-10 ground beef is better for you too, but I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. Yeah, I tend to think that it takes away some of the chew too, because it doesn't have that fat in there. Yeah. Yeah, and you had to cook it a little bit longer to like get the proteins to break down. Because that's the big thing too, is like if there's more fat in there, it's harder to break down the protein. And tacos shouldn't have a whole lot of chew to it, right? Like, at least in my opinion, they shouldn't. You don't want it to be chewy like a hamburger is. You want it to kind of like dissolve in your mouth when you take a bite out of it. And the less fat there is in the meat, the more likely that's going to be. Yeah, and you can see too, like there's not a lot of grease in this, right? Like that's not a lot of grease at the end of the day that's pooling up there. That's going to get all emulsified into the sauce and stuff that we're putting in. So, all right, so that's definitely ready to go. In terms of the seasoning itself, I don't measure, I go by smell. So you can just kind of like feel it out. I usually just sprinkle it across the top until it looks like it's about right. And then the way that I operate, I'm 6'2", so if I'm standing over this, like this, and I can go like this, and just smell it, that's probably good. You can kind of see here, most of the pink is gone. Just a couple of pieces that are rendering down still, so we're going to give it like probably 30 more seconds. And this is the reason why we like tacos so much too, is because you can literally just have this seasoning ready to go. That Pico takes like 5 minutes. You literally just throw this in the pan, and it doesn't take too long to get done. Alright, so again, if we think that there's too much grease in here, we'll probably drain it. Overall, I don't think it's that bad. We'll probably be fine. If you think this is too much grease, you can just drain it. At the end of the day, we're going to be reducing this down anyways. So I'm not too concerned about how much liquid is in here right now. Because again, there's not a whole lot going on in here. So we're fine to just kind of leave this in. What I'll do is if I think there's already enough liquid in there, I'll put less water in. We're gonna do about a half cup of tomato sauce. This is not jarred tomato sauce. This is a can of actual tomato sauce. If you don't have tomato sauce, you can do what we did. Take tomato paste and just add water until it becomes sauce-like. And then usually about half of that of water just to rinse the rest of the tomato sauce out. I'm sure everybody's seen their parents do that with jars and stuff. Same concept. Then you just mix this in. It should start to get kind of a red color going on. And so the big thing with tomato sauce, when you're cooking with tomato sauce or tomato paste or any type of pure tomato product, they are naturally high in sugar. So you don't want to have the heat on too high. I've only got it at about a 4.5 right now. Because if you do, you're going to scald the sugars inside the tomatoes and it's going to burn. And you don't want that to happen, because if you make it burn, then you're not going to taste anything besides burnt tomato. You can kind of see the red color that we've got going on here. Obviously, this is a little liquidy. This will reduce as we leave this on a low heat. We're just going to let it come to a bit of a simmer. Once it's kind of simmering, we'll lower the heat down and we'll just let this kind of reduce down. So all I did was reduce the heat down to 2. Gonna give it a little stir so it doesn't get so angy. Looks like it's getting a little angy. Alright, don't let it burn. Usher didn't know what he's talking about. Do you get it? That was a pop reference joke. Alright, so for the Pico, this has been sitting in there for a little while. You can really smell the onion and the jalapeno now. Like, it's very, very aromatic. And that's kind of what you're looking for. You just want this to kind of have a really strong smell, because that's what's going to bring a lot of the flavor to the Pico. We're just going to dump all these tomatoes in there. Just going to take a spoon, lightly stir this around. And obviously you can chop this stuff down a lot smaller than this. It doesn't have to be big chunks like this, but we're not really picky. Once that's all mixed up, just gonna go ahead and hit it with the cilantro. I'm sure most folks know this, but obviously you can throw, like, you can do serrano peppers instead of jalapenos. Like I said, not perfect, but it's gonna get the job done. It's fresh. It's gonna get even better as it sits in the fridge for a couple of days. There's our Pico done. You can see this is starting to get a nice color on it. You'll be able to tell when this is done, by the way, when all of this meat starts to feel super, I hate to say it like this, but I don't know how to a better way to describe it. When it starts to feel super loose in the pan. So like when you go to like put a rubber spatula through it, it'll just cut through the meat like it's nothing. This is the benefit of using like the less lean or the more lean beef. For toppings today, we're obviously going to be using the Pico. We also have some sliced avocado that we're going to throw on there as well. And then I had a little bit of an experiment a little while ago. I think it was on Memorial Day, and I made this like, it was like a what's it called? A salsa verde. But then we took the salsa verde, threw it back in the blender with an avocado, and made like almost like a sauce. And it is so good. So good. But yeah, you'll notice what, like, most of the liquid will be reduced in this as well, because the meat's gonna absorb all of this, and that's when it's done. And honestly, folks, that's pretty much tacos. It's super easy. Yeah, you can start to see. You see how the bottom of the pan's getting clean like that, just from me like slowly moving my spatula around? We're almost done. We're almost done. Obviously, again, if you don't like this much liquid in your tacos and you want them to be a little drier, you just leave it on for longer. I like to leave a little bit of extra liquid in there because it's makes it better to reheat. Obviously, when it comes to cheeses and stuff like that, it's all preference. I like pepper jack on my tacos. So yeah, you can kind of see now. You see how the pan's getting like really clean as I'm pushing stuff up. Most of the liquid's absorbed in the meat. This probably only needs like maybe another minute and it's done. Hit the heat. We're gonna leave this up on the thing. This will continue to reduce on the pan here. Just take a nice little scoop. I usually just like to layer it on the bottom here. And take some of the Pico. Hit it with a dash of the pepper jack. I don't put a whole lot of cheese in my taco, don't judge me. I usually just sprinkle a little bit on. Just give it a little bit of creaminess. And then just take a couple slices of avocado. Bam. There you go. I'm going to throw some of that green salsa on here too, and it's going to look far less appealing after that, so. Should be fresh. Got a lot of nutrients in it. Took very little time. Also highly recommend these salsas from Taco Bell in case you're lazy and don't want to make salsa like I did. Which is, for the record, me. I am lazy. I'm that person. But these, like avocado salsa verdes from Taco Bell, are fire. They're so good. You can do that too. Like I said, doesn't look quite as appealing when you put that salsa on there. I promise you, though, it's very good. For the record, the Pico with that salsa verde is spicy. The best part about this is that because of how much liquid is in this still, these will reheat really well. I'm probably going to have one more. And then we'll end up having this for dinner on like Sunday or Monday, probably, when we don't feel like cooking. But this is super fast, super simple, incredibly flavorful. And just, I don't know, they're good, man.
I just like them, dude.
I just like them, dude. For the folks that are picky eaters, there's enough flavor in just the tacos that you don't have to add all that nonsense to it if you don't want to. I've also been known in the past, I like to put spinach on my tacos for the crunch instead of lettuce. Because I think spinach adds a little bit more flavor to it, where lettuce just kind of absorbs what's in it. Like I said, pretty easy. Super simple, super flavorful. Makes good for leftovers. But yeah, so that's the finished product. There's our Pico. Like I said, that's going to be around for a while, obviously. This is very, 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 very good. The Pico is. Got our finished tacos. Like I said, nothing crazy with the tacos. And that's taco night, everybody. Hope y'all enjoyed.